Well, hello. I'm Axel from FXhome, and this tutorial for Imerge Pro will be covering basics of the interface and workflow to help you quickly get up to speed. Even if this is your first time opening Imerge, it will only take a few minutes until you know your way around and are comfortable using it. Download the files in the description if you want to follow along, then go ahead and launch your copy of Imerge Pro, and let's begin. When you launch Imerge, it opens to the project screen, which shows all the projects on your computer. The header bar has tools for organizing and finding projects, and the sidebar provides direct access to the user guide and other support and training resources. If this is your first time using the software, there won't be any projects listed yet, so let's create one. In the New menu, you can select any of the listed templates if you know what size image you want to create, or select Empty Document if you aren't sure. Creating a project opens the Edit screen, where your project is built. We have several main areas here. The Viewer, of course, is where you view your project while editing, and the Viewer Tools bar at the top has tools for working with the viewer. The Sidebar is where you stack the layers that make up your project. Imerge supports image layers, of course, but you can also create text layers, solid layers of any color you wish, and adjustment layers. The Canvas Settings button is used to edit dimensions or color management settings for the current project. Farther to the right, all controls for the currently selected layer are displayed. Let's create some layers so you can see what I'm talking about. These buttons allow you to add a new layer of any sort. If we click the Add Image Layer button, we get quick access to common folders and system drives where your images might be stored. The Image from Folder option opens the folder from which images were most recently imported. Navigate to the folder containing the Imerge background.jpg image, select it, and click Open. An alert may appear asking if you want to resize the canvas to match the image. Since we started with an empty document, click Yes. If you created your project using a template for a specific size, then you would want to click No to retain that selected canvas size. Now, the layer appears in the viewer, it is added to our layer stack, and we see the controls for the layer on the right. Another way to import images is using the keyboard shortcut Control-I, or Command-I if you are on a Mac. Use that shortcut to open the file browser and select both of the green screen images included in the download. When you click Open, a dialog appears at the top of the interface asking how you want to handle the multiple images. You can either import them all into a single layer or import each image into a separate layer. Click the Single Layer button and we get one new layer, and one of the images is displayed in the viewer. But if you look over in the controls, under Content, both images are listed, and if we select the other, it appears on the viewer. So, our image layer serves as a container, which can contain multiple images. Each image is called a variation. This is a core feature of the Imerge Pro workflow, and is the basis for batch processing multiple images very quickly. Each layer is a container, and any adjustments you make are applied to all images contained in the layer at once. For example, these images are too large. If we change the scale to fit to canvas, both images are resized. You could have 10, 100, or 1,000 image variations in the layer, and it works exactly the same way. They would all be resized at once, which is much faster than individually editing each image. Whenever a layer contains multiple variations, the same settings are applied to each variation. Not just scale and other transform settings, but masks and effects are also automatically applied to every image in the layer. With this in mind, let's hide Layer 2 by clicking this button and go back to our import options. Click Control-I again, or Command-I if you're on a Mac, and select the same two images for import. Now, what if we wanted to see both of these images at the same time in our composite? That is when we would use the Two Layers option for import. This option gives each image its own layer, so they can be edited independently from one another. Since each layer is a container, and only one image within the container can be displayed at a time, we want to put these images into separate containers to have them both visible together. So with that clarified, let's select and delete these two new layers and turn on Layer 2 again. Imerge Pro features the latest and most powerful version of our world-class keying tools, which we will now use to remove the green screen. Select Layer 2 and find Effects in the controls on the right. You can use the plus icon next to Effects to add an effect to the layer. You can also add masks and contents in the same way, but in this case, we're going to use an effect. So click the plus and a menu opens with all of the effects available for the currently selected layer. We've got blurs, color adjustments, sharpening, glows, and loads of other useful effects. You can type the name of any effect into the search box at the top of the menu to find it quickly, or scroll down through the menu using your mouse wheel or trackpad and find and select the chroma key effect. Quick as a flash, the green screen is removed, the green color spill around the edge of the image is removed, light wrap is applied to the edges of the image in areas of the background that require it, and the image colors are adjusted to better match our background image. All of that is done automatically in an instant, and with no adjustments whatsoever, the edges of our composite already look excellent. But you probably noticed that there is a bit of transparency in her sweater, or jumper, depending where in the world you live, and we do want to adjust the settings a bit to refine that. So, click the Refine Key tab to access the inner workings of the chroma key tool. Here is where we can dial in the results more specifically when required. You have access to several views in this tool set. Status shows all areas being removed as black, all areas being retained as white, and any area that is only partially removed as gray. So this gray area in the center, we want to adjust until it's white, so it's retained. Matte provides a similar view, except you can see the full range of semi-transparency. Look at the transparency around the hair, for example. In matte view, the hair looks great and isn't really any more transparent than it should be. But in the area we are concerned with, in the middle, the gray is much more subtle, which can sometimes make it difficult to see exactly how much adjustment is necessary. So using Status View to adjust that can make it easier to see what's going on. Matte View provides a more realistic view of the key, while Status View just makes it easier to see all the semi-transparent areas. Result shows the image in full color. It gives you the actual result of the key effect so you can see what you're going to end up with. One of my favorite features in Imerge Pro is the key color selection display, which makes it really easy to visualize the color range that is currently being removed from your image. Using the status view, reduce the hue range and note how the selection changes. Larger range, smaller range. For this image, we can bring it right down to 0. Now, as we correct the transparency in the matte adjustments, note how the key color selection updates there as well. Bring clip foreground down until the gray in the center is removed, around 0.77. Then raise the clip background to remove the gray in the corners of the backdrop, around 0.12. Notice how the edges of the key color selection shift as we make those adjustments. Now, click our other image variation to check how these settings work for it. Okay, here we have quite a bit of gray in the background. But rather than going straight to clip background, let's adjust the sensitivity of the key up to around 1.5. That gives us good clean edges on both images, though we have a bit of gray up in this corner still on this one. But rather than push the key settings even farther, which could negatively impact the edge detail, let's use a mask to quickly remove that. Imerge Pro has powerful masking tools with a variety of different mask types. And you can apply masks to layers or to individual effects. In this case, we will use the Masks tool set in the controls for the layer to add a layer mask. Click the plus to add a mask and select the type you want. A vector mask could work. It allows you to draw any shape by creating a series of connected points. Or, let's use an area mask. This gives us a rectangle, which we can reposition and resize as needed using the handles. You can also adjust the corner handle to add a radius to the corners, and the dashed line indicates the feather at the edge of the mask, which also has a handle for editing. By default, the area inside the mask is visible, but we can click the invert toggle to reverse that and remove the mask area. I mentioned that masks can also be added to effects. This icon at the top of each effect listed is the Effects Mask menu. It has most of the same mask types and they are edited in the same way. But while layer masks control the visibility of the entire layer, including its contents and any effects that are applied, an effect mask defines where within the layer the effect will be visible. So if our subject here was wearing a green necklace, or if she had green eyes, we could use an effect mask around those areas to prevent them from being keyed. Once we have our composites dialed in, we want to export them to create a new image. The current canvas image can be exported at any time using the Export Canvas button. You can also use the export command in the project menu or the shortcut Control-E or Command-E on Mac, but we will click the button. As soon as we click it, a dialog opens where we can choose a name and location for the saved file. Click Save, and the image is created. The project menu also includes an Export Settings option, which is quite handy. It also has a shortcut, which is Shift-Control-E or Shift-Command-E on Mac. Use the shortcut or the menu, and you get this dialog where you can choose the format for the export and specific details which vary depending on the format chosen. If we select JPEG, then we can set the compression level for the image and some other details depending how the image will be used. Progressive JPEGs load all at once rather than loading from top to bottom, and the Save for Web option optimizes the image for internet use. If you choose a different format, you get different options specific to that format. Once you have the settings you want, click Apply and they are saved. The saved settings will now be used for all Canvas exports until you change the settings again. In addition to exporting individual images this way, Imerge Pro also has batch export capabilities, so you can export everything at once, or to export a list of specific image combinations from within your project. This button adds the current image combination to a custom export list, which will be discussed further in a different tutorial. And this button opens the Batch Controls tab, where we can export all of our images in one go. It's actually a toggle, so you can click it again to go back and forth between the Edit tab and the Batch Controls tab. The Output section defines the format details. Each format has the same settings here that we saw earlier in the Export Settings dialog. Folder is where we choose the location for the exported files, and File Name has a variety of options for how the multiple files will be named. For a simple export like ours here, it may not matter much. But when you have a large batch of hundreds of images with multiple layers in each image, being able to keep track of which variations are included in each exported image is very useful. The resolution of the exported images can be taken from the canvas, or a different size can be specified. You can even export multiple sizes if you want by creating additional output listings. So perhaps you want to create a small JPEG as a preview for your customer, and a full quality TIFF as well. No problem, just create a second output listing using this plus icon and enter the settings you want to use for your second copy. You can also double-click to rename each output for easy reference. Since our composites are made up of multiple images, if we want to include metadata, we need to select which image it will be copied from. Or, if you just want to enter your own name and copyright info, you can do that too. In the batch controls, we have two options: Content Variations and Custom Export List. The Custom Export List will be discussed more in a later tutorial, as I mentioned. Content Variations gives you all image combinations available for export. In our case, this is 4 images, because we have 2 foreground variations, each of which will get combined with the background and then exported to 2 different formats. So, all that is left to do is click Export, and all of the images are exported. And there you go. Now you know how to create projects, import your images, edit them, and export your new creations. From here, you can experiment more with the wide variety of effects and tools in Imerge Pro to create an endless variety of amazing images. So thank you very much for watching, and we will be producing more tutorials for Imerge Pro in the near future. So if there is anything specific you'd like to see covered, please let us know in the comments. And until next time, have fun with Imerge Pro.